Peace and risings to you all, and welcome back to yet another video. As usual, I like to come on here once in a while to share messages of guidance with the collective, give you new insights, wisdom, advice from the higher realms as to what is going on at this time and what it is that we can do to facilitate this journey of both ascension and grounding that humanity and the collective are going through, because we are living in very interesting times. And let's just be honest, no one really has any clue as to what is going on, and no one really has any clue as to where we're all really going, because we are living in a time that has never before happened in human history. And I'm sure many of you have heard the saying, there's nothing new under the sun. And that is true, because we have essentially been recycling the same information, the same timelines over and over and over again. It's like the fact that in Hollywood, we see the same movies, essentially the same storylines coming out over and over and over again. And that is the reality that we as humanity have been living, considering that we have been under manipulation and control for hundreds and thousands of years. So it's like something never seen before is being birthed, and none of us can really conceptualize what that will look like. And that is why it is beautiful, because some of us came here to be the pioneers of this new reality that we are both creating and experiencing. And some of us came here to help the rest of humanity awaken. We came here to help people think differently. We came here to help people look at the world differently. Because one of my favorite sayings is, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And for so long, we have been looking at things the same way, which is why nothing has really changed. And I don't know about you, but I found myself often, especially since around 2020, in all honesty, feeling very bored with the same narratives being spun over and over and over and over again. Well, obviously, I think it's safe to say that there's a lot less boredom going on now than there ever was, considering that we are all experiencing a lot of chaos. We are experiencing a lot of change. We are all kind of wondering what the hell is going on. And of course, let's not forget that a lot of truths are being revealed. And as I like to say, we are well and truly living in the book of Revelations. And again, people will interpret things at their own level of consciousness, and that's the thing with prophecies, is all we can do is interpret, and people will interpret differently based on their experiences and based on their perspective of the world. So I guess these videos are also to bring in a somewhat different perspective, in hopes that this will help you change the way you look at the world, and therefore the world that you experience will change to reflect back these new perspectives and points of view, shall I say. So yes, so much to say, but let's just remember that everything that is taking place in the world right now, even if it doesn't feel like it, is in fact happening for our highest and greatest good. I think it was yesterday I posted a video on TikTok that was highlighting about how, or it was the day before, anyways, it doesn't really matter, basically stating that darkness is needed to show the absence of light. And now we just have to remember that we live in a world that is multidimensional, and we've been taught to look at the world as being simple and linear, but that's not really the way the world works, because everything depends on context and everything depends on the perspective with which we're looking at things. And so nothing is so straightforward. But what we are seeing, it's kind of like, they say diamonds are formed under pressure. And so and that's essentially what is happening now. We, humanity, were once upon a time diamonds, but we have forgotten who we are. And this is also due to free will, but also due to the fact that a lot of misinformation and manipulation and control has been taking place. And so we know full well that when people are not free to be themselves, well, then they're limited. And when people are put under constant fear and control and all of these different things, well, what happens? Well, we create from a place of fear and survival as opposed to a place of love, beauty, and harmony, which is the energies with which we were created. But what makes human beings extremely interesting and unique is that we hold both spectrums. So we hold both light and darkness within us, and we have the ability to do a lot of good, but we also have the ability to do a lot of evil. And so what exactly it is that we are experiencing in the world today is the fact that most of humanity, or at least those who have been controlling our world and making all the big decisions that impact millions and millions of people, well, those people have not been operating from good, but have been operating from evil, because they are merely puppets to those that really truly rule our world, which are not humans. And this has been going on for hundreds and thousands of years because we have been worshipping false gods. Not the gods, because there are many gods, but we all came from the same source. But there are many gods, and this is why for a very long time, the powers that are falling had to make everybody believe that there was only one supreme God, and this is the false God that we have been worshipping. And so, the source from where we all came essentially wants us to be free. That is why we are beings of free will, but our free will is being manipulated away from us. And so what is happening now, because we live in a world where humanity has to see to believe, well, everything that conspiracy theorists were talking about for a very long time is now happening blatantly out in the open for all to see, because, well, people need to see to believe. Well, that's why the darkness that has been operating in the shadows for so long is now coming up to the surface so that everybody can see what we have truly been worshipping in the system that has been holding us up, the system that we have been fueling, the system that we have been programmed to worship, believing that this is the way we will know freedom and we will know love and we will know all the things that we truly deeply desire. But even the things that we truly deeply desire that were once good have become tainted and corrupted, because people now have been programmed to believe that what they really want is material things, when we are here to experience non-material things, but in a physical material body. And that is the paradox of the human experience. The entire experience on earth is a paradox, because life is full of paradoxes. And so it is about living within the paradox and understanding that we are not supposed to be too much to one side or too much to the other. We are supposed to be in the middle. It's like the human body. We have a left arm and we have a right arm, and we have a left eye and a right eye, and so on and so forth. But if we are too much in one side of our body, then we are only operating from one side of our body, as opposed to working through the whole part of us. It's like if you're driving a car, but only the wheels on the left-hand side of the car are moving, your car is going to move, but it's going to move with a lot of difficulty. And that's why you were given a whole other set of wheels on the right side. But if you're totally oblivious to the wheels on the other side of your car, well, your car is not going to operate at full capacity and in all the abilities that it has. So right now you are like a really all-terrain, 4x4, but you've been operating as a bicycle. So of course you're not able to access certain terrains because, well, you've been taught that you're a bicycle, wherein in fact you're a really sturdy all-terrain 4x4. So anyways, maybe that's a weird analogy, but we are awakening to the fact that we have been only operating from a very small fraction of who we are. And so we need to be put under pressure in order to see, because, somebody pointed out when I posted that video that, I can't remember what he said, but anyways, he was approaching it from a very scientific perspective, and I'm really not a science person. I'm an energy person, and I'm a frequency person. And so I was explaining, oh yes, he was saying anything that is the opposite is your enemy. And so I was saying, well, okay, yeah, fine, we can see darkness as the enemy, but darkness, even if it's our enemy, then that's also pushing us to become a better version of ourselves, because when we are forced to fight something or someone or whatever it may be, then we discover abilities that we didn't even know that we had. How would you know you were strong if you never had to face any challenges? And so those of us who have been put under a lot of pressure, and some of us more than others, well, those of us who have been put under a lot of pressure has been in preparation for this time, has been in preparation to share our own life experiences, to help people see that even when there is darkness and even when there are challenges, these are not negative things. These are, in fact, helping us to become aware to different facets of ourselves that we didn't know were even in existence. So, as much as people are experiencing fear, and as much as people are fearing all kinds of other different things, I personally think that everything that is happening now is really serving us to elevate into the next version of the human being. Because let's just face it, this version of humanity really fucking sucks. We are so much more than we have been allowed to believe. But that knowing of who we really are, it exists deep within ourselves. It exists deep within our DNA. And now the beauty is that the cosmos and the energies that are coming in from the different planets and the different alignments, and Sirius, our spiritual sun, being so close to the earth in comparison to previous times. And they say that when Sirius is really close to the earth, then this is when we experience a golden age. And so in order to get to the golden age, well, a lot of the time we have to go down in order to come back up, and that is what is happening. We are breaking down the foundation of the old building so that something new can be birthed in its place. And no one really knows what is going to be birthed in its place, because now this is a collaborative effort. An effort in which we are no longer creating from a place of individuality and a place of me, but a place of let's realize that the I cannot be joyful and at peace if everyone else in the collective is going through shit, because their shit is eventually going to seep on over into our own lives. So when we realize that we all came here to be in harmony, and that we all have different pieces of the puzzle, because we are all unique and we all have magic inside of us, and the more we are allowed to share our magic with the world, well, the more incredible magic there is to experience, because we've been taught to believe that we have to, that if I want something, then somebody else can't have anything. But we live in a world of abundance, and the universe and the Most High and Source created this world with more than enough that we need. The only problem is that humanity, under the stewardship of evil beings, let's just put it as it is, have become so greedy. and so prideful and so selfish and so lustful, and so basically whatever the 7 deadly sins are, we've become all of those things. And it's because humanity is living from its shadow self as opposed to its light self. And this is why everything that is happening now is happening for all to see, and everything that is falling apart in our lives is showing us this is not the way, because we are living in the times of judgment. And we are all being judged, every single one of us. This is why everyone is experiencing some kind of shit show in their life. I mean, some more peacefully than others, because we have experienced shit show after shit show in our lives. And those of us who have experienced shit show after shit show throughout our lives, well, we are somehow navigating this shit show better than the rest of the world, because we can see that the powers that some people really worshipped and believed in and trusted, well, those powers are falling apart. And those of us who could see through the illusion, well, power is coming back to us. And I just want to say it now again. I will really say that power is coming back to the melanated people, because for a long time we have seen the reality and we have seen the truth. And everyone else has said, y'all are fucking crazy. But now finally, people are realizing, the rest of the world is waking up to what it is that we have been trying to say all along. Because those of us that are spiritual have been seeing, but those of us who are not, we're not seeing. And so we can either get onto the spiritual train and take rulership and power back over of our vessel, where we have given it away to others to rule us, or we can continue giving our power to, well, to a system that really doesn't serve us. So let's get into the cards and let's see what they have to say. Interestingly enough, the same first card came up as last week, which was Nightmare. Caught in an unwanted reality. Haven't we all felt that we were caught in an unwanted reality? Believing in the small voice. Haven't we all been succumbing to that small voice inside of us? But that small voice inside of us is not us. That small voice inside of us is the voice of the programming of all the times you were made to feel small, of all the times your power was being taken away from you by evil forces that wanted to feed off of your light, feeling powerless. Yes, this system has made us feel powerless. Fear. How many of us have been engulfed in fear? Because again, this is programmed into us because of the system in which we live, that will have us believing that there is not enough, that the world is falling apart. Hello, the world has been here for billions of years. It's not going anywhere unless we destroy it, which is what we have been doing. We are all partaking in the destruction of this planet and constriction. Yes, haven't we all felt like there is so much constriction? Does this not embody the world that we have been living in? And we can blame it on our governments and we can blame it on each other, but until we take ownership of the fact that we are all responsible. We are all responsible for pollution. We are all responsible for the disrespect of nature. We are all responsible for the fact that human values have gone down the toilet. We are all responsible for all of these things. And until we can individually get our shit together, nothing in the collective is ever going to come together. So the best things that we can do at this point in time is to focus on bettering ourselves, elevating our individual consciousness so that the collective consciousness as a result also elevates. Because what we are seeing playing out in the collective consciousness is just the sum total of the consciousness of each individual being on this planet. But once enough people get to a certain elevated level of consciousness, which is what is happening now, which is why we are seeing more and more chaos, more and more distraction, because the distraction is simply there to make us feel and believe that we are failing, but we are not failing. Those of us who are energetically sensitive can feel that we are not failing. Something has shifted. There is more compassion amongst human beings than ever before. And this is what war does. War brings people together, because when enough people are experiencing challenges, well, they put their individual shit aside and they just have compassion to the fact that we are all victims of trauma. We are all victims of manipulation. We are all victims of our free will being encroached upon by evil beings, but let us not give them the power. Let us treat one another with love and respect and compassion, and realize that we are all victims of the same game. So when we stop playing into the way they want us to respond, when we respond differently, then they no longer have control over us, because they think they know us so well, but they only know the programming that they have put into us, the program that they have written. But when we change our programming and respond from programming that we have written, programming that they can't understand, well, their system just falls apart. So let us let their system fall apart by changing our programming. The next card we have here is Not. Disturbed communication and attachment. Yes. Rather than energy flowing with ease within our body, within the world, everything has been knotted, because they have disturbed communication. They have disturbed communication within our nervous system. They have disturbed communication within the ley lines of the planet, within the energetic highways within the planet, within the collective consciousness. They have caused nothing but disturbed communication, so that everything is distorted. Essentially, we have been playing a really bad game of, Chinese whispers, or broken telephone, where, that game where one person whispers on to the next and the next, and the more time we whisper it to somebody, by the time it gets to the last person, the message is completely distorted. And that is what has happened. We have been given distorted information, so that we are all operating on confused, broken information, which is making us attached. We are attaching to this disturbed communication, thinking that this is truth, when it is in fact nothing but disturbed communication, distorted energy, distorted frequency. And think about that. Imagine you're trying to learn something new. Imagine you're trying to learn a new language, but you keep being given mistranslations. So that now when you go and talk that language to somebody who doesn't speak the language that you speak, and you're speaking to them in all kinds of broken knowledge, well, for one, they're not going to understand anything you're saying, and for two, for all you know, you could be insulting this person, thinking that you're coming and saying, hi, I come in peace and I'd like to get to know you and your culture and be immersed and be friends with you, but you've been spoken to say I am your enemy, so that when that person comes back to you, with war, because they think that you're the enemy, well, now you're like, oh, this person is bad, because all I'm saying is that I want to be friends, and you're coming out here and you're attacking me for no reason. This is what has been done amongst different race groups, amongst different cultural groups, amongst different tribes, clans, genders, even though there are only two, but that's not what we're going to get into here. So much distorted information, so that nobody can really tell right from wrong, good and bad. But let me tell you something, when you get out of your mind, your body always knows the truth. The gut feelings, our intuition, we all have it. And what we try and do through entertainment and addictions and partying and booze and drugs and sex and all these other things that we do to push our feelings further and further away, is that we're trying to mask what is good, because we now live in a society where everyone rewards what is bad, and those who want to do what is good, essentially, well, they're labeled all kinds of different things. So even though we all deeply know within, we all know what is good and right and wrong, good and bad, good and evil, we all know. We know this. It is programmed into our DNA. So Operate from a place of your body. Listen to your gut instincts. Listen to your heart, because these are the tools that were given to you by the divine realm. The next card we have is Connections to Mother, Balance Centered. Also, this card came out last week. And just look at the image. A mother holding her baby. This is the same image that we see, what is it, Mother Mary with her baby. It was the same thing as Isis with her child. It is about the connection of Mother Earth, the connection that we have to Mother Earth, our mother, and we her children. But again, we have severed that connection. And as a result of the severing of connection to our beloved mother, who gives us all that we need, we rape her and we pillage her and we pollute her and we take everything and we do not give anything back to her. So, of course, the earth now is pissed. Of course, the earth is just like, I'm done with you people coming and living in my house and shitting everywhere and leaving your rubbish everywhere and making a mess everywhere and doing nothing to clean it up, even though I am the one who has given you shelter. So as a result of that, we have become very unbalanced and we have lost track of our center. We have been living either too much in our right side, too much in our left side. Though, because we have been living in the patriarchy, we have been living too much in our left brain, which is our logical, rational brain. And so we have been taught to believe that emotions are weak and that women are weak. But I'm sorry, emotions and emotional intelligence makes you have better interactions and relations with human beings. And this is why the world is falling apart, because people have taken, and let's just put it out there, the men, because men have been ruling our world, the men have taken emotion totally out of it, saying all emotions are weak. But I'm sorry, if you stand up for yourself and say that's wrong, is that weak? No, it's not weak. It's courageous. When somebody can stand up against everyone else and say no, that is courageous. And once upon a time, that was seen as bravery. That was valiant, and people were knighted for these things. People were recognized for these things. But where is that courage? Where is that valiance? Where is that ability to stand up when no one else would stand up? That was courage. And where is it? Well, apparently few people have it today. So let us recognize those who are courageous. Let us recognize those who stand up and speak against the system, because it is thanks to those few that we have not yet been totally and fully enslaved. The next card we have is Find Time for Yourself. Cave. Inner journey. Protection. Yes. We are being asked to go inwards into our internal cave and to come back to center and to remember what it means to just make decisions for ourselves, what it means to be connected to the mother. And it's interesting because if I bring the 4 cards that we've just looked at, look at all this darkness. Dark, 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 dark. But I want to focus on, yes, we have the darkness of the nightmare, the darkness of the knot, but then we have the darkness of our connection to the mother. Think about the darkness that we experience when we are in our mother's womb, the darkness that any seed experiences before it blooms outwards and turns into a flower. It is in the darkness that the stability is created so that something beautiful can be birthed. Think about how we are happiest when we are in our mother's womb. The safety of a cave. Think about when you are scared. When you were a child, what did you want to do? You wanted to just snuggle up under the covers and be safe in your cave in a small cocooned space. So not all darkness is bad. And right now, there is all this darkness that is happening in the outside realms so that we go inwards, so that we trust the darkness of the inside realms, because we have forgotten who we are, because we have spent so much time focusing on the outside. We are being asked to go inwards so that we can operate from our inner selves. The next card we have here is Amazon. Honor your wild side, craziness, feminine power. This makes me think of Lilith, because Lilith is an archetype that is totally misunderstood. Remember, once upon the demon, if we look at the original The original etymology of the word demon comes from daemon, which in Latin means spirit. And so things that gave us access to truth had to be demonized. Lilith was demonized because she was the first rebel. She was the first woman who said, I will not bow, I deserve to be equal. So any of these stories where Eve was created from the man's rib, okay, yeah, fine, because that was the woman who was created to be submissive to the patriarchy. But Lilith and Adam were created from the same earth. So they were equals until Adam was like, you must bow to me, the false god that I don't know, perverted Adam's mind was like, you must bow down beneath me. And Lilith was like, fuck you, I won't lie beneath you. I am your equal. I will stand beside you. And because so obviously she was demonized and said to be the mother of all darkness. Yes, the darkness of the womb, the darkness of the cave, where all initiates go into the cave to commune with the Most High, to get messages from higher realms. And that is why they fear the woman who goes inwards. That is why they fear the black woman, because the black woman is the most powerful being of all. And all those who stand with the black woman stand with the Most High. So let your wild side come out. It is time for the wild feminine to come out, because we have been suppressed, we have been oppressed, and we shall no longer bow to the system. We are reunited with our great mother, and we are here to bestow her wrath upon the people of the earth. The next card we have is the chiefess. Strength tested, and the number is 8. 8 being the number of occult, 8 being the number of superpower, 8 being the number of death and rebirth, 8 being the number of infinity, power, and strength. We recently had the Lionsgate portal. And yes, as I was saying, our strength has been tested. But you are the chiefess. And this is even for the men out there, because we all have masculine and feminine energy. So will you let the feminine parts of you come out, your creativity, your intuition, your connection to the divine, your connection to being in flow with life, to being connection to the earth, the mother, your mother, all those feminine qualities that are inside of you? Will you allow those to be what guide you moving forward? Or will you continue to be part of those who suppress the woman? So the next card we have here with the 15 bringing it down to a 6, the number of harmony, the number of Venus, the number of feminine. There's a lot of feminine energy here on this board right now. And so the message we have here from number 15 is the trickster, ego and excess. Yes, your ego, wherever you are in ego, wherever you are in excess, is trickster energy. And look at this image. This is where we are being tricked by the web of lies that is being brought in by this disturbed communication that we saw from the knot here earlier. So let us not be tricked anymore. Let us put our ego in check. Let us get our excesses in check. Let us not be living from any kind of addiction. Let us get our addictions in check, because remember, the addiction is just there to mask something deeper, the trickster energy. So this is why shadow work is so important. And what is shadow work really but taking responsibility for the things that have gone wrong in your life? That is the first place to start. Notice the distorted beliefs that you hold. Pay attention to the thoughts that you are generating in the unconscious, because that is also what is creating the reality in which you live. Now remember, our beliefs were created by the programming that we received mainly between the ages of 0 and 5 years old. So there is a lot of programming that we are conditioned into, but we have the ability to change our beliefs at any point in time. This is what neuroplasticity is all about. This is science that shows that neuroplasticity is the ability for the brain to create new neural pathways at any age. So it is never too late to change your beliefs. It is never too late to learn a new skill. It is never too late to change things about you that you do not like. The next card we have is again another 6. And this time we have Creature of Fire. Choose freedom. So in the distorted, so we have here the distorted energy of the trickster with the 6. This is shadow energy of the 6, moving into the light side of the 6 when we move into our fire, when you take the rage you have and you turn it into something beautiful. Choose freedom. Use the rage that you hold for the fact that the world is unfair, the fact that the world has demonized so many things, and that it is time for us to take back our power. We are a creature of fire and we choose freedom. So use your energy to free yourself rather than your energy to fuel the system that enslaves us. The next card we have here is again another 8. And here we have Father of Fire. So again, a lot of fire energy. So we have the 8, the Chiefess, the mother energy, moving into the 8 masculine energy of Father Fire, which is passion ignited. So yes, ignite your passion. What is it that you wish to share with the world? Now is the time to share it, because you were given that passion, because that passion comes with a certain frequency, and it is that frequency that we need at this time, because we are living in frequency warfare. What people don't realize is that the brain, the human brain, works on different frequency scales. You have alpha, beta, theta, delta. When we are in different frequencies, our brains do different things. And what people don't realize is through modern day sorcery in the form of technology, these are being used as tools to emit certain frequencies that fuck with our minds, fuck with our brains, and fuck with the thoughts that we are generating. And our thoughts hold power. I mean, I'm not someone who reads the Bible, but there was something along the words of before God was the Word and the Word is God, because words are spells. Words hold frequency, which is why when you sing certain songs versus other songs. So, for example, when we sing, like when Cisco sang about thong songs versus when people sing high vibrational chants, these are doing very different things. And so this is why music has been a massive form of spiritual warfare for decades. I think it was in like 1946 that we changed the frequency at which we recorded, and the frequency that was chosen, I forget it, I'm sorry, you can look it up, but the frequency that was chosen is one that actually causes distortion. It actually causes anxiety. And this is why so many people feel anxiety, not necessarily knowing why they're feeling this anxiety. And essentially, it's because of the frequencies that are being emitted through all the towers that were put up during the 2020 period when everyone was indoors. Technology is also emitting certain frequencies, 5G, 4G, Wi-Fi, microwave. These were all tools that were used in war. So we have to be aware that when we change our frequency with the words, with the music, with the things that we are doing, we change our brain's ability to function. So the next card we have here again is right under Chiefess. We have Priestess. And the message is, how are you being called to step up and lead? Because now is a time for the divine feminine to rise. We have tried ruling out of logic and rational and taking emotions out of it, but how much good has that done to our world? Because when you get rid of the feminine, emotion, love, intuition, justice, harmony, beauty, when you take away all of these things, look at the world that we are left in. A world devoid of connection, a world devoid of beauty, a world devoid of justice. And so this is why the divine feminine that has been suppressed for as long as she has is coming back in all of us, not just in the women, but in the men also. And it is about giving way to this energy. It is not about man versus woman. It is about energies. We need each other. It is not about saying, oh, the men are toxic, what is it that they say? Toxic masculinity. I'm sorry, but there's also such a thing as toxic femininity. And in some cases, I can find that the toxic men can be very brutish and men can be very, very violent physically. But women can be, women can be even more so, because women play with the mind. And they can be very manipulative. And this is not to say that men can't either, but toxic masculinity looks like men no longer respecting women physically, emotionally, or sexually, but also toxic femininity looks like worshipping toxic emotions such as lust and pride and greed and all those 7 deadly sins that we were spoken of, that we all know about. So it is time to step into our priestess energy, to have compassion, first and foremost for ourselves, because it is impossible to have compassion for others when we have not developed compassion for ourselves. And because we live in a world that is so distorted, a world in which many of us have been traumatized, and many of us which were not given the compassion that we needed, especially as children. And so when we are not given compassion as children, it is very easy for us not to have compassion for our fellow brothers and sisters in the world. So it is so important that we learn to heal ourselves, that we heal our traumas, whether they be from this life or traumas that have been passed on ancestrally and generationally. Because now is a time of ending cycles, and the cycles that we are ending are cycles that go back thousands and thousands of years. These are not small cycles that are coming to an end. These are cycles of the world that have been in existence. As I said at the beginning, the same lifetimes have been generating over and over and over again. But we are done with that. We are done living in a matrix system that continues to just regurgitate the same old evil shit, just repackaged in different ways. We are done with that, for we are reclaiming justice. But the justice starts within. The justice starts with each and every one of us, because if we see evil being done, don't just turn the other way and say, oh, it's not my responsibility, because think if the tables were turned. If you were in a shitty situation and everyone was just walking on by and doing nothing, imagine how that would make you feel. So don't do it to other people. We have our freedom and our free will has all been infringed upon. So when we see it being done to other people, have compassion, because it really does just start with one person. Because when one person changes, when one person has a better experience, then they go on and they pass that experience on to somebody else. And then it becomes a snowball effect. So let us be the ones who create that snowball effect by being the first to change the way the world works, by changing the way we interact with one another, by changing the way we see the world, and by changing the way we interact with the world. The next card we have here is Mirror. Who or what is triggering you? So whatever is happening in your outside reality, whatever is triggering you in your outside realm, that is simply showing you something in your life is distorted. Something in your life needs to change. what is that thing? Because we easily blame the outside world, but let us not forget that the world will constantly mirror back to us whatever it is that we believe. So if we believe life is hard and life is shit, then that is what the world will mirror back to us. So change your beliefs. If you are not happy with what the world is showing you, then it means that you are holding distorted beliefs that do not serve you. And those beliefs were programmed into you through society, culture, education, entertainment, our parents' past experience, because society has been conditioning us for thousands and thousands of years. So we have the ability to change. 4444 on the clock. Confirmation. The next card we have here is Sever Vows of Poverty. Dear one, there's no need to suffer or sacrifice. Hold the intention of undoing any vows of poverty or self-denial that you may have made, consciously or unconsciously, in any lifetime, because we carry, they say, up to 7 generations of trauma, but I think it goes even further than that. So even if your ancestors made vows of poverty for whatever reason, it means you are still carrying them within your cellular makeup in this lifetime right now. So by actively going and choosing to change them, you will change your experience. But the thing is, to anchor in new beliefs, they require repetition and consistency. As you do so, all effects of these vows will be undone for everyone involved in all directions of time. In case you want to see the image there. And last but not least, the last message we have is moonlighting. You can start working on your dream career part-time while keeping your other job to pay the bills. Soon your dream career will take flight and fully support you. Yes. You know, the interesting thing here is when people see others who have been successful, they only see the result of consistency and effort that has been put in for that person to reach that level of success, because success doesn't happen overnight. And people who are successful, you have to remember that they have put in the time and the effort. So one thing that humanity seems to lack today is the ability to be consistent. So one thing that you can really do is to build up your awareness, to build up your focus, to build up your attention span. Because if you have a limited attention span, then you will never be able to do anything of lasting value. Because when we have an attention span and we can go on and go on and go on and do the same things over and over and over and over and over again, and it will be boring and it will be annoying and it will be hard and there will be moments where you're just like, why? But it eventually pays off, because in that consistency, that is when you also discover the shadow aspects of yourself, the parts of you that are holding you back, because there will always be parts of us holding us back until we address them. So, a lot of information here today, but I truly hope that once again this message has brought you new insights, new information, will help you look at the world in a somewhat different way and experience the world in a new way, because you really are changing your reality and you really are changing the world. Much love to you, and I'll see you in next week's video. Bye for now.